We're talking today about staying on track-ish. It's important when going on a summer road trip. It's the middle of June right now. I'm going on a 7-hour drive tonight. It's early in the day right now, but we're leaving later on, and then going to be on holiday for a few days out in the mountains. So obviously, calories and macros and working out and that isn't the most important thing when you're on holidays. And usually I would just not bother with it altogether, but I feel like when preparing for a long travel day, there are a few things to keep in mind to keep you somewhat on track-ish. So we're gonna go through those today. First one is what I'm doing right now. Now I go for outdoor walks every single day, no matter what. But today I'm doing a couple extra, just try to get some more steps in because A, I'm not gonna be able to work out later. I don't have time, so my step count is gonna be a lot lower than normal, which is fine. But making sure I get enough steps. I also find myself on any kind of travel day, whether it's a long road trip, whether it's a flight, whether it's hanging out in an airport, I'm never in hip extension. I'm always, you always have your knees bent, you're seated. And if you're like me, if you're a hockey player or you have bad hips for whatever reason, arthritis or ankh-spawn or anything like that, having tight hips is a problem for the next few days. So keeping yourself in hip extension, keeping this stretched out as much as possible and straight up rather than, knees crunched up against your chest all day is important to not only today to get your steps in, but it's also important for the next few days to have that mobility in your hips. So just being in hip extension as much as possible day of or day before a long trip is important. A couple walks today. We'll go through some nutrition stuff throughout the day. Can't wait for the weekend. Should add, I'm only gone for a couple of days. It's Thursday today. I'm going to be back by Monday. So working out and going to the gym is not going to be a priority. In fact, we're going to be doing some hikes and things like that. So I'll get enough exercise anyway. So that's not something you should stress over unless you have the time for it. Now, I may sneak out for a workout if I can find a gym close by, just because I like it, just because it gets my day going, keeps me on a routine, keeps me feeling good. But don't worry about seeking out a gym if you're on holidays with your family or friends or whatever. It's not super important if you're just missing 3-4 days at a time, especially when it's nice out like this and you can be outside anyway. It's just as good for your health up here. Moving is just as good for your health down here. We're gonna talk more later about road trip specific snacks, but right now I wanna touch on what to eat leading up to getting in the car and going on the trip. So obviously you don't wanna be starving the whole way there, but you do also want to be able to stay on your calories as much as possible. So this is a good tip for any time. This isn't just road trip specific, but eating a lot of high volume, low calorie foods, which is vegetables and fruits, anything with a lot of leaves, anything like carrot sticks that take up a lot of room in your stomach. Strawberries are good for this too, and are very low in calories. High nutrition, low calories, high fiber foods, things that will fill you up for not a lot of calories, just so you aren't starving throughout the road trip and wanting to stop and get snacks and do whatever it is. But of course, carrots only get you so far. They're kind of boring. We're gonna get some fun road trip snacks coming up next. All right, let's talk about snacks. Now, this is gonna be more road trip specific than on a plane. But it is good for any kind of holiday, even if you are flying somewhere. When you arrive, these are always the type of snacks that I look for. Now, obviously, we're trying to stay on track, but not completely on track. So there are going to be some treats in here, but also fruit and some easy to pack snacks are essential. So let's have a little look at what we got here. To start with bananas, they are extremely cheap. They pack extremely well, and they're good on road trips. They're good for a few days, even if you leave them in your bag. I like them a little more brown anyway. So I have 4 of those for the next 3 days. Good energy source as well. Going to be going on some hikes. It's something easy to pack and bring along. Next piece of fruit I have is Ambrosia apples. Easily the best value flavor. Honeycrisp is the best flavor. Gala is the best value. Ambrosia somewhere in the middle on both. Second best flavor, probably the second best price. So we go with Honeycrisp. The reason I go apples and bananas for fruits, I like berries a lot better and I like pineapple a lot better, but they don't keep very well in the car. These are things that can be okay if they're eaten at a warmer or I guess room temperature. So we go with those. Obviously protein bars. I eat these every day anyway. So grab 3 of those for the next few days. 1 for each day. I'll probably have them right when I get up in the morning. As far as road trip go, a great protein source is beef jerky. Now, you're not going to pack a big tub of protein powder and be making drinks in the back seat. If you're out, might actually be sick. But I stick to these. These are relatively high carb for beef jerky. Per pack, 13 protein, 6 carb, 1 fat. Still insane macros. I got 3 of them. Might just eat them all at once even, and that's about 35 grams of protein that not going to get anywhere else. So I got those. Gatorade Zeros, which I drink often when I'm cutting anyway. These are also essential for a long road trip. Now, you don't want to drink too much because you don't want to be stopping all the time, but something like that will just keep you a little bit more full for no calories is huge. Now, I said we're trying to stay on track. Not completely on track though, so we gotta splurge a little bit. We got number 1 chip flavor right here. Miss Vicky's Sweet Chili and Sour Cream. And then banana chocolate chip muffins, 6 of them. There's actually 5 because I already indulged and ate one. Those are also good road trip / cabin type snacks because you want to treat yourself a little bit, and neither of them are so insanely high calorie that you eat so much you're going to feel disgusting after, especially if you're having your protein sources, your fruit and your Gatorades and stuff as well. So a little bit of splurge, a little bit of health, a little bit of fun, all things that are easy to pack and keep well in a vehicle. That's what we're going with for the trip. All right, just getting everything packed into this bag right here for the trip, leave it in a few hours. Now, obviously, when you're going on a family trip or whatever for the weekend, exercise and mobility is not the top priority. However, there are a few things you can bring just to make things a little bit easier if you do want to squeeze some exercise in. I've got 3 different bands in here in this tiny little pouch, which fits literally anywhere. It takes up almost no space in the bag. Put your wallet or something in there too to make it worth bringing, make it a little easier. The other thing, which I know a lot of people don't like, but is great if you are never really in hip extension like I am now, standing up, you are on an airplane or you are sitting in a car or in an airport, you're seated a lot, you're getting real tight, you're going to want a foam roller. Now, obviously, they don't normally pack very well, but you get one like this. It's small, it's travel size. Not only that, hollow in the middle, which means you put roll up your t-shirts, put them in there, put all your socks, put all your whatever's in there, and then that goes nicely in the bag with all your stuff in there. Takes up a lot less room and just gives you the chance to do a little bit of mobility work in the morning, at least when you wake up for 20 minutes, just to stretch things out a little bit, make you feel a little better. Again, we're not trying to stay perfect on track, but trying to come back from a trip without destroyed hips and legs and quads and still being able to move. So that's where we're at. Packed foam roller. Another item which I forgot, but I do have somewhere, is a lacrosse ball, which again, if you're sitting or laying down even for a long period of time, putting a lacrosse ball behind your shoulders and kind of rolling it in around your traps and on your lats and stuff, and even on the back of your butt and hamstrings and stuff, feels really good to loosen up areas that get tight. And it's easy to pack, just a tiny little rubber lacrosse ball. So get one of those in there as well. Can understand I'm coming off probably an 80-year-old man in this entire video, but being prepared is just the gateway to having a great time. So we are being prepared. Bringing this little bag of medication here. Now, I don't actually take any medication or anything for any issues I have with mobility or my hips and that sort of thing, but there are these pills, these little turmeric glucosamine capsules. I don't take them every day, but I take them when I get inflamed or when I'm in pain in my hips. Now, they prevent inflammation. They do a very good job, but especially when I'm sitting for 7 hours at a time or sleeping in new beds, which I'm going to be for the next 3 nights at least, that causes inflammation and often causes pain flare-ups. So just having a few of those on hand in case shit hits the fan. The other thing is just in case shit really hits the fan, a few body ache Tylenols. So again, hopefully you don't need any of this stuff, but it is essential to pack to be prepared just in case. This is a big thing, especially if your travel is later in the day. Talked about the walks a little bit, and that's good for mobility and for movement and for blood flow, but going to do a big time mobility session right now. And I'm not bringing my yoga mat, obviously, for just a few day family trip outside. So I'm going to get as much stretching as possible done right now. Now, I normally stretch every day about between 15 and 25 minutes with just a bunch of various yoga moves, mostly focused on lower body and hips and lower back, and opening those up, those areas that get tight and get inflamed really easily. I'm not going to be able to do as much of that this weekend, obviously, with just bringing the foam roller. So I'm going to go through about 30 minutes right now just to prep, just to, again, keep myself in hip extension, keep everything opened up before I sit in the car and tighten it all back up for 7 hours. So I'm going to do that now. All right, just started my stretch 2 minutes ago, as you saw there, and decided I changed my mind, and it's a beautiful day, so we're gonna do them outside right here. I guess that could be another good traveling hack. You're in a plane, you're in a car, you're in an airport, you're inside a lot, and if it's a nice day, might as well get a little fresh air while you can. So I'm gonna stretch out here. Done with snacks, I want to talk about actually eating before you leave for a trip. Now, there's a few do's and don'ts when it comes to this. Obviously, you want to fill up on things like protein and fiber as much as you can because they keep you full for a long time. But You also don't want to do too much fiber or too much protein or too much liquid because you don't want to be stopping too much. You don't want anything that's too heavy that's going to sit in your stomach. Fast food I know is the easy option for a road trip, but not always the best. So food right before you eat, going with one of my absolute favorites right here, which is going to be eggs. 3 eggs scrambled with some egg whites, turkey bacon on toast with some ketchup, and just a little bit of low-fat cheese. Super high protein, like 55, 60 grams of protein in there. Moderate carb, like 50 carb and about 25 fat. So a good big meal that I have for supper all the time, even though it's breakfast. It's my favorite post-workout meal. It's also my favorite pre-road trip meal because it keeps me full, but it's still light enough. The eggs digest pretty easily that I'm not going to be feeling disgusting on the way on the trip. It's now the next morning. We did half the drive yesterday, about 4 hours. Gonna do another about 3.5 this morning. And yep, you guessed it. First thing, getting some steps in before we get going again. Slept in a bed. It was more of a couch that I slept on last night. So obviously, you're gonna be a little bit tight, a little bit sore after 4 hours of driving and sleeping on somebody's couch. So again, just getting some movement in, getting some fluids in before do the second half of the road trip. It's another key to just, again, we're not trying to stay perfect on this trip. Gonna be eating lots of junk food. In fact, I ordered some takeout last night, had some, it was delicious, but just staying somewhat on track so I'm not too far off when I get back. Drinking my water, getting my steps in. Into the second half of the trip today. We're in the mountains, by the way, great scenery. British Columbia, going for a little walk. Gonna do some stretching and then head out in about half an hour for 3 more hours. The thing about the morning walks that I love is it's not just for getting the steps in and the movement in, it's all just up here, like especially when you're in the mountains and it's just insane vibes and insane views everywhere you look. It's just so, it feels so fresh and good. I just feel so clear and ready for the day after I do that. So doing that for even 20 minutes, even when you're on holiday, just getting up and doing that before everybody else wakes up is just such a good way to stay fresh and stay sharp and be ready and feel good and dominate. That's what we're doing.
Cruising down the highway, windows down low. Sunset paints the sky in a fiery glow. Mountains rise up, touching clouds above. Valleys below, filled with whispers of love. On this road, every scene.
Alright, it's on a little hike in the nature and a little hike in the woods and look at the moss vibes. Waterfalls, Nelson, BC, great spot. Getting some steps in. Nature.
Valleys below, filled with whispers of love. On this road, every scene took delight. From sunrise to starlight, day to night. Nature's canvas unfolding so grand. In this journey, we're living unplanned.
Stopped at Tim's for a snack. Crow's Nest Pass. Hour and a half from home. Let's see what we get. Alright, so now the following Tuesday, been back from the trip for about a day and a half. Everything went really well, but obviously went off track a little bit. So I'm eating a hot dog and some ice cream and stuff like that. Again, it's important to, if you're going to stay on track on vacation, stay on track-ish, enjoy yourself a little bit, but be able to get right back on track. So today we're going to go get groceries. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but basically the gist of our grocery haul, it's going to be basically what I eat on a normal cutting diet on a normal day anyway. Just a little bit more fruit and veggie friendly, a little bit more lean proteins. Gonna get chicken instead of steak, egg whites instead of eggs, some lower calorie protein bars, but generally the same stuff to get right back on track and just hop right back in. One quick common mistake that a lot of people make when they do overindulge is to try to dial it way back to even it out, so to speak, on like a Monday, for example. Don't do that. Just get right back to where you know you should be. If you're regularly eating, 2,000 calories and you eat 3,400 one day, don't go down to 1,000 the next day. Just right back to 2,000. Stay on track with where you should be, and that'll even out in no time, especially when it's just for a few days like this. I'll show you what I got for groceries next.